Hello everyone and welcome to our interview today. So I'm Lizzie from HQ Magazine and this is Evie from Callahoo Warmblood Sport Horses, and we are here today basically to chat a bit about the Callahoo auction last year, which was the first of its kind, the first online warmblood sport horse auction in South Africa. So yeah, over to you Evie, tell me a bit about how last year went.
Liz, we find ourselves in a completely different position than we did last year when I had our interview together. It was kind of a our first ever online auction, and we were trying to navigate our way best we could around the Corona challenge. We had obviously had 11 years of traditional auctions, and now because of the restrictions on mass gatherings, we had to think out of the box and start again. But it was a wonderful period where for the first time we weren't forced, but it was a wonderful time where we should test the business model of 11 years of traditional floor auctions. And having taken that leap of faith and having had the encouragement of HQ and the equestrian community at large, in a year where we were our most vulnerable, we had our best auction yet. So taking that leap of faith, it was the best thing we could have done.
And just to sort of fill the viewers in, can you tell us again those stats from last year's auction, because those are absolutely unbelievable.
I mean, Liz, we were obviously dealing with a completely new set of circumstances and a completely new sort of dynamic to the whole bidding process. And I think we probably had about 2 weeks of tryouts already before the national lockdown. And then again, we opened it for a month. Our tryout bookings then doubled as a response of having just that little bit of extra time. But I think also because we were at a time where there was no competitions happening, nothing. This was of interest to people and a way for them to get back into it. Having said that, even though we did have this instance of double the people trying the horses, I think the most remarkable statistic and one that we're sort of scratching our head about now is that 73% of the people that did actually buy our horses had never tried them or seen them. I mean, talking about the top six horses of the auction, only one person had actually sat on the horse that they then bought and started riding. So I mean, unbelievable.
It's really testament to the quality of Callahoo and the fact that people know what they are buying. They know the quality they're buying. I really think it's an unbelievable statistic, that one.
We were very encouraged by the number of repeat buyers. I think it had gone from about 36% in our previous year to go to 43% now, or 46%. So that definitely was encouraging, that our repeat buyers are always coming along and supporting us. You know, in line with our traditional auctions, we welcomed about 600 to 700 auction goers during the weekend. And because of the unrestricted reach now of the online model, there were over 3,000 users on our website. So I mean, the numbers were remarkable as opposed to our traditional auction.
And it was a spectacle still. I mean, despite being online, I mean, I watched the whole thing. It was really entertaining to watch. You know, I must say. I mean, it was obviously wonderfully exciting last year, but I believe you are innovating again this year and sort of developing this model even further. So can you tell us a little bit about the plans for this year?
Liz, there were wonderful new discoveries that we made pivoting our model to the online. And looking back, there were 2 key advantages which actually informed our decision not only to continue with the online format, but to now go a little step further and actually split it into 2 biannual auctions held 6 months apart. We just touched on a little bit with our previous question where we spoke about how the fact was that now, instead of 600 to 700 people trying to come to the farm, which we already know is 450 kilometers from Johannesburg, we were now completely unrestricted. I mean, anyone with a smart device from anywhere all over the world can now log into the auction, look what's happening and engage, where there's no need to plan logistics, accommodation, anything like that. So it definitely added a whole new dynamic. And for the first time, we were able to send quite a few horses across the border. In the past, we did have a few, but now we send horses to Congo, Zambia, Botswana. It was incredible. And like as I say, before we had, I think at most, we always had about 84 auction buyer registrations on the floor auctions, and for the first time now we welcomed 500, I think probably about 515 online registrations. So in terms of our geographical constraint and where Callahoo is itself, it's definitely opened up our borders. And I think the most imperative advantage, and this one is really what did inform the decision to split the auction into 2 lots, was the fact that Splitting the auction into two has allowed us to spread our workload. And for our team, even further, we are now able to individualize the training program per horse. If a horse is a little bit slower to mature or a little bit greener, we now have the opportunity to then push them onto the October auction. And just from last year, seeing in how those 2 months that we postponed the auction, how the horses came on and matured and strengthened. We all know that young horses enjoy rest, and with this we are now able to facilitate that and get the best out of each horse up until the time of auction, rather than rushing to meet a deadline.
Just in terms of as a team, how do you go about choosing which horses are for the summer collection, which horses are for the winter collection? How is that decision made?
Liz, this is such an important question because we've had so many people asking us this. There's a whole panel that sort of makes and suggests how we're going to go about this. There was a kaleidoscope of different considerations which we obviously had to take into account. But kind of starting from the top and explaining the process to you, we have Grant Storr, who's our stud manager, who has a very good understanding with our vet of the radiological status of each of the horses and the maturity levels. And then we have our two outside trainers, which is Graham Wynn and Ray Corber, who come in monthly to facilitate our training and our clinics. Annette Rousseau is our training manager, and she has an intimate knowledge of all the horses on offer. So together with all of our different inputs, we were able to discern who we should shift in terms of a timing and maturity level to the second auction. But not only that, we had to take into account aptitudes, disciplines, heights and sizes obviously, and the dam line. We made a special effort obviously to ensure that there was a good balance between the first auction and the second auction. As you understand with horses, we can't discredit what 6 months additional time to rest and to develop will do for the horses. But from outside and from Team Callow, we have tried our best to make sure that there's an even distribution of horses between both auctions.
I do have to ask, because when we're talking about Callao horses, so tell me, what has happened with the previous auction horses? Where are we at currently?
Where are they now?
Yeah,
Liz,
exactly.
As we know in the breeding game, it's a numbers game and a time game. Numbers in terms of it takes a few offspring for you to really understand where you're going, and it takes a number of years for them to really start developing and shining in sport. If we take, as an indicator, if we take a 8, 9 and 10-year-old, which is kind of coming up to the open level of show jumping, we roll it back in time, say 2013, 14, 15 of the Callow auction. Where are these horses now? In 2020, even though we understand it was a short competitive year and it only really began in September again, the Callow partnerships had a wonderful round of success, really doing well in the 135 level. We had Tommy Triggle and Callow Sancho win the 135 SA champs, and just before that, Jenna Barrow and Callow Lord Cassini did the Young Rider 135 South African champs. The President's Cup champion, which was Ray Corber and Callow Lansing, the Burlington Cup champion with Lara and Callow Conseri.
Yeah.
So we had a wonderful round, even culminating in the end of the year with Tamara Rueda and Callao Liantos winning the 135 Kawena Masters. It was wonderful to see. And looking at the dressage horses, we had Ingeborg Sanne and Callow for sure do so well in the FEI challenge, and also it was Alan Conradi and Callow Fabricio that did so well at the junior champs and won SA champs. So all around, the horses are definitely starting to move and shake, and it's wonderful watching our horses do so well with their riders.
The horses are obviously doing brilliant in the arena, and we've seen lots of evidence of that. But I also know that your stallions are doing phenomenally in the performance ranking, high performance rankings. Do you want to sort of tell us a bit more about that?
Liz, we were absolutely delighted to hear about the results. I think it was from about 2017. We had Callows for Joy come in on the top of the ranks. So the high performance offspring obviously all then get tallied, and then they come up with a statistic of the sires and how it works. In 2017, For Joy then topped the ranks of the high performance ranking. We can never forget Jean Corber with Callao Fiorella, who went up together, and other For Joy horses such as For Remigo with Jason Phillips doing so beautifully now in the classes. Also Callao Floyd with Kyla Brimacombe also doing so well. And then from about 2018, it was 2018, 2019, and then Lissabon superseded and then topped the ranks. It was wonderful to be at the Easter Festival now. Liz, I was there with you
Yes,
watching the
yes.
Lissabon boys doing so well. We have Lucado in the 150 level now with Desiree Davidson, and Jean Corba again with Fiorella's son, Lexington, doing so beautifully. And also seeing Concorano now coming up. I think in 2019 it was Lissabon came in first, For Joy second, and then Concorano third. So the Concorano offspring definitely are starting to do well in the arena.
Yeah, so talking there about the stallions, let's not forget the dam line. So when we're talking about breeding, often there's a bit of a debate about which part of the pairing is more important. Is it the stallion or is it the mare? So tell me about Callawho's philosophy on this.
We understand that they share a 50-50% value. However, if you speak to Ian and to quote him verbatim, the start and the end of the Callow breeding philosophy lies with the mare.
Yeah.
Performance-proven dam lines are the cornerstone of the Callow breeding objective, and this has kind of found its expression in the fact that most of our Callow foundation mares either themselves produced or were siblings to international champions. Supplementing these foundation dam lines of Callow is this obsessive quest that we are always on to source these very special dams. Conventionally, it's very difficult to buy, but we are always on the lookout and always trying to see where we can get hold of these mares or go and visit them.
In relation to these international champions, how has this found its expression in the, for example, winter collection now?
Liz, chatting about just a few candidates from the beginning to the end of the collection. Lot number 4, we have Callow Liska. She's a Lissabon mare. Her mother, Stiletta, is the full sister to Simply the Red, which is staccato gelding, jumping in the international class with Andrea Tura. And we have 2 Tolano boys which come from very interesting dam lines. The first is lot number 8, Take 5, whose grandmother is the full sister to Arco 3 with Nick Skelton, as we know. And the other Tolano gelding that we have is Callow Tel Aviv, lot number 13, and he hails from the Weisse-Dahmer dam line. That's represented by Van Schindel's Optical with Piet Rijmakers, and also Atletico with Willem Griev, and kind of anchored by Kumano with Jos Lansing. And as the grand finale on the auction, we have lot number 22, a Larison son, Callow Laredo, whose grandmother Piquette, she was a Pilot mare herself, jumped with Dutchman Leopold van Asten in the 150 classes. So an interesting array of horses, and I think what's really starting to come to the fore is these direct relations, and the Callow branch of these international relations are slowly but surely starting to make a name for themselves.
So it's amazing to hear, and we've now, having talked about the stallions and the dam lines, I now have to ask, how is it that Team Callawho go about combining stallions and the dam lines, and sort of where's Callawho headed essentially with your breeding?
Liz, if we think about where we're trying to go and kind of the journey that we've been on, as we obviously understand, we are breeding in response to where the sport is going. What we know is that the poles are getting lighter, the cups are getting shallower, the time is tight, and the courses are becoming more technical. The heights can't get too much higher, so what we're trying to breed is a modern, refined, light off the floor athlete. They need to be able to turn, they need to be able to get into the time, they need to be able to recover from the jump quickly on their feet. So we need horses clearly that have the scope to do the courses, but also have the athleticism and the rideability to be able to master what's being asked from the course builders.
For the final question today, how on earth do you guys name these horses?
Liz, it's such a wonderful tradition at Callow, and one that I've loved growing up with. At the end of the breeding season, or let's say towards the end of the breeding season, each member of Team Callawho gets the sort of the printout, and we all obviously get together and write our little names on a list. But the fun part is that at the end of the workday, all of us get together, and it's become tradition now that we only name 10 per evening, but we used to do them all. What Ian does is he puts money on the top of the bar counter, and when a horse comes up for naming, each of us obviously put in our suggestions, and then it goes by vote. And if your name is voted as the name to you get to pick the 100 Rand off the bar, which is wonderful.
I love it. So everybody, so people have, the whole team have been involved in the naming, essentially.
Yeah.
No, that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Evie, for joining us today. It's been absolutely fantastic to hear about the new format. I actually just can't wait to see where this biannual format takes us. It's a total innovation for the sport horse industry in this country.
It's been wonderful having the support of HQ, and especially, as I said last year, we were in such uncharted territory, and having the support of HQ and our equestrian community at large has made all the difference to us. So thank you to all of you guys.